Hi, my name is Michael. I've been a writer, arranger, and producer for around 15 years. From disco to rock ballads, the tempos all vary, and each cut is played to the drum drop.
Hey guys, Evan Carlton here with Rage Colorado, here with our featured artist of the month, Michal Menert, the month of November. First off, I'd like to start by asking, how did you get to this point? What led you down this path of music?
I got to this point just from liking music and then starting to play with friends in high school and junior high, and eventually getting to the point where I realized it was the only thing I really wanted to do, and then it started making money eventually.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a long period of trying to make money off of it, but also just trying to find ways to do it as much as you can. You know, working odd jobs and whatnot that give you time to play and give you flexibility with your schedule. But yeah, me and my friend Paul, aka Paul Basic, and Derek, who's now known as Pretty Lights, we started playing in right after junior high, between junior high and high school, and started, you know, it just became an obsession, and I got into production through just listening to hip hop and wondering how they made it, and kind of learning how you know, finding loops and realizing how things are chopped, and just doing that digitally at first, and then getting an MPC to kind of learn the fundamentals, you know, buying an SP eventually too, just to kind of like learn the two different platforms that I grew up producing and then, or listening to the production of, and then eventually moving back to just incorporating everything into DAWs and, you know, different things like Ableton and not Free Loops, but Cool Edit and Reason and things like that. Yeah, it's, you know, it was just an evolution, I think, of being a fan, and then eventually being to the point where you're a fan that also has fans. I feel like that's, you know, with PLM and the crew, we've been able to kind of support each other and have each other's back and find our own niche in the scene. Just like, I mean, Stone sort of the same thing, you know. There's lots of labels, you know, Ninja Tune, Warp, Ghostly, you know, like there's a ton of labels that are on a much larger scale that have also, you know, carved their own niche into it. But I'm just glad that we, as it's on a very small scale at an independent level, where it's, you know, basically just a bunch of friends with a website and an idea, releasing music, you know, and under one umbrella of like, this is just kind of the sound that we all make, and let's do that and give it away for free. The fact that that's become something that that, you know, we can all sustain ourselves off of. You know, and it's all, you know, it ebbs and it flows, but it's one of those things that you know, it's like any job. There's high points and low points. Sometimes you make more money, sometimes you make less, but it's doing what you love, and I think there's like, you don't really turn back and look at it as anything but time spent doing the best thing that you could be doing with your time. It was mainly just because we didn't have money to press albums, and, you know, we were trying to just get it out. Like, we were musicians that were pirating music from bands that we liked, you know. I was getting burned CDs from Paul when he was living in Maine and Seattle and whatnot, and, you know, we were all spreading music, but I kind of felt guilty, because it's like, man, these artists, you know, these are the ones that deserve to be paid, not the ones that are in Best Buy already or whatever. Not that they don't, but you know what I'm saying. It's like the equaling out of funds that I wanted to do with my purchases. I wish I could have done, but it's just, there was so much stuff dropping that you can't keep up with it if you want to absorb as much music as you can. You know, at the time in the early 2000s, mid-2000s, there was so much coming out every week that it was impossible to buy all the albums that I wanted, you know. And I think that just being able to share music in a way where you're like, you know what, there's no risk. It's hard enough convincing somebody to come to your show, or, you know, buy a CD and pay you $15 or whatever. And I think that just escaping that whole process of getting your music to people, which was the way that all the bands I'd been in had done it, which was just, you know, sell the merch, sell the digital or the physical copy, and be able to sustain yourself off that, and that's how you grow a fan base, you know. But just, there's so much overhead, and there's so much just risk that the fan does if you're not an own artist.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
hard to buy something you've never heard.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and this way, like, you know, you can download it, delete it if you don't like it. If you do like it, give it to your friends, and nobody cares. You know, nobody's like, hey man, you're sharing. This whole thing is like, you're sharing music. You know, it's, I mean, I think that's kind of cool. It's it's the ghost, man. It's the ghost. I think that it's happening with a lot of things now, you know? It's like, it is, I mean, it's called a music library for a reason, I guess, you know?
So you have a show coming up on November 7th with the big band.
Yeah.
At Red Rocks. Or no, not Red Rocks, Fillmore.
Fillmore.
Go ahead and tell us about that. What can people expect from that if they haven't seen you with the band yet?
It's going to be really awesome. We got a really cool stage design. I got Herm doing lights for me. We have a lot of time to prepare, and it's basically just reinterpretations of songs of mine into the live setting, basically taking them apart and rebuilding them with live instruments with no backing tracks. 2 drummers, no click track. Got Paul on electronic pads doing samples and drums and bass lines and things. Got a keyboardist, guitarist, bassist, synth bassist, DJ, Mikey Thunder. And then Marcello Moxie, who came on tour with us this fall, he's playing synth bass. I'm playing sampler and array of keys as well. And yeah, it's going to be really awesome because the first time was really nerve-wracking because you wonder how to get 18 people to all be on the same thing. The first one was at Sonic Blues this year.
I was gonna say I was at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was sick.
Yeah, and
that was great.
That was like, you know, we practiced a little. I'd flown out there with a few of the band members to Bellingham, Washington, where Snug Harbor, the core of the band, is from, and practiced with them and kind of caught up with where everybody was. I was really impressed. I mean, there was a few songs where I was just like, I don't even need to be on stage for this. I can go watch this song, you know. But yeah, like they're very talented players, and everybody who's been involved in it so far has been great. And being able to do it at the Fillmore, where it's on, you know, a little closer to home, and not in a festival setting where you have, you know, we have the whole day to get the sound dialed in, and so that's something that I'm really excited about because you can only imagine how many, you know, going from sending right and left signal for most of my shows, and then having a drummer and a bassist, to now having, I think we have like 64 different lines that get sent to the front of the house, you know? So it's like, that's a lot of signal, that's a huge signal path, and to get it all right and dialed in and have it vary from song to song, you know, and have somebody that can keep up with it, that's something that I think we're gonna learn how to manage a lot better, having that preparatory time, rather than just hopping on and having a, you know, 30-minute festival set change where you're like, all right, 18 people sound right together.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, man, I meant to ask you, so tell me, what's up with the axe back there?
That is the axe from the Your Ghost video, done by Daniel Goldhaber and Drew Levin and myself, along with a crew of people. And we kind of put some fake blood on it before we decided to go black and white with the video. And I chopped down most of a tree with it. And now it is my axe. It sits where most guitarists' axe would sit, in a guitar thing with space for behind it. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, so by the way, so tell me about Half Color.
Half Color?
Yeah, tell me about Half Color. You got an EP coming up.
I'm going to need this guy to tell you. Get over here, Paul. Get in here, Paul.
Yeah, by the way, we got Paul Basic in the house as well.
Paul Basic in the house, so what you gonna do?
So yeah, guys, tell me about Half Color. What's coming up there?
We're finishing up an EP right now that we started kind of beginning of summer, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess some of the tracks had started before that, but we decided to. I mean, we've been working together for about 5 years at this point as Half Color, kind of before we did solo stuff. We made tons of music, we played shows, but we just never put anything out, and we never tried to make it that bigger project before our soloist careers kind of took over. But now that we're a couple years into that, we're coming back and we've finished up 5 brand new tracks, gonna put it out and do it. Try to launch it as like a new project.
And it's cool too, because
even though it's an old one.
Because we've done tracks together, and you know we've always been like, well, this is a Half Color track, but I think that these 5 tracks have a life of their own, and they kind of hark back to the original sound that we were going for back in like 2008, 2009 when we were starting. Because back then it was. I mean, the crazy thing about Half Color is it started out as a electronic project where we were doing things like 7/4 time signature and all different time signatures.
Originally, yeah, we were doing every time signature. I think we covered every time signature we could.
Yeah, and it
was totally free. We weren't really playing shows at that time. We weren't on a label. We weren't. We were working other jobs. It was totally just for fun. Like I had just moved back to Colorado, so it was kind of reconnecting and just seeing whatever came out of it,
Yeah.
and all sorts of different stuff came out of it. But
Yeah,
it developed a sound out of that now we could reference. Or
All right, guys. So tell us about
Thanks,
the
Paul.
Space Jabs album that you guys got coming out, and what's that all about? And you got some artwork over here for
I got some
it
artwork
going
over there.
on.
Yes.
It's Space Jazz started as just it was a fake genre. I'm sure it's a real genre. I'm sure that there's,
Somewhere.
in fact, after looking into it, like people like Madlib have put out stuff, you know, people that are within the same field of what I'm doing, and they're probably gonna think I'm some kind of asshole. But Space Jazz was like, people kept being like, oh, is it like, you know, Soultronica or like Electro Soul or like, you know, is it EDM or, you know, we'd be interviewed by dubstep websites, and you know, and we're like, so how do you feel being part of dubstep? And you're just like, oh, I don't really know.
How I feel about that.
Like, you know, and it has nothing to do with not liking dubstep. I think that like I got a bad taste in my mouth from the word, just from being associated with the wrong genre for so long, and people like putting you in a very heavy and aggressive genre that kills it live, you know, and then you're playing with those
too.
Yeah, and then you're playing with those people on those shows.
It's kind of like bass actor. Someone says he makes dubstep, he'll immediately tell you, I don't make this bass music.
Yeah,
It's not dubstep.
yeah, exactly. And it's just, I mean, it's stupid because it doesn't have it's hard to make a title, and I also didn't want to be just stuck with electronic music, because a lot of my stuff sounds more psychedelic or more like organic. You know, it doesn't all have synths as the predominant aggressor. So Space Jazz was just, you know, I got tired of telling people what I made. I'd tell them Hairtronica or Space Jazz, and then this guy Barrett that is a weed grower. He had made a strain for Derek called Derek's Diamonds and whatnot, and he had just gotten a hold of me through a few different things. He's part of the PLF, you know, one of the kids that came together with a bunch of other kids and has kind of like a surrogate family within the crew. Anyway, he lived in Denver, and I was tweeting because I think it was during the Grammys, and I was just watching everybody, you know, just fawn over whatever, you know, accolades they can get and things. And I was just like, man, I'd just be happy if someone named a strain of weed after me on Twitter. And Barrett was like, what would you call it? And I was like, Space Jazz, you know. And then it just became a strain of weed, and then it became a tour because, and then during right before the tour, I was like, I should put out an EP. And then instead of putting it out, I just kept working on it for another year, and now it's been a year. So it's kind of like it went backwards, you know. It was like a genre, then a strain of weed, then a tour, and then now it's gonna be an album, you know.
Interesting how those things work out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not, you know. I don't think it's a very good approach to business. I don't think that's how you market things, but that's how I've done it.
So yeah, guys, we just finished our interview with Michal Menert. Be sure to be there November 7th at the Fillmore. Big band show, not one to be missed. Thanks.
Peace out. Rage, Colorado. Michal Menert, Half Color. Michal Menert Big Band, November 7th at the Fillmore.
Be there.